So many heartwarming memories of St. Paul. Part 1 and 2, December 8th and 9th, 2012. I arrived in St. Paul right around midnight. Not from St. Bride's in the west, which I expected, but from the east. I guess that explains why the town lights reflecting off the clouds were on my left as I approached the stop sign. It was snowing lightly. My thermometer showed -7, but the lights had a warm glow as I headed toward town center. I wasn't going very fast as I wanted to take it all in. But one of the signs on my right caught my eye, and I couldn't pull over to get a photo as there was another vehicle right behind me. I eased up on the throttle and let him go by, then turned left and backtracked toward the east, past the sign. Then again left at the next access and back to the west, stopping in front of the well-lit sign that proclaimed, "A people kind of place, the town of St. Paul." Little did I know. Good thing I had my big boots on as I trudged through the snow to get a shot from right behind the floodlights planted just above ground level. I jumped back in the car, uploaded the photo on Facebook, and carried on down Main Street, or actually 50th Avenue. It had been a while since I'd been through town, so I took my time, going slowly all the way toward the West End and the UFO landing pad, which our family had visited so many years previously. That was my cue to turn left as Norman Noel used the UFO pad as a marker for me to get to the St. Paul Rec Center, where the auction would be held tomorrow. The trees on my right had a very pretty glow, so I stopped for another photo. Tourists. These happened to be the boundary markers on the south side of the RCMP parking lot. I uploaded this photo, then drove around the hockey arenas, left, and then left again, where I spotted the curling rink sign. I knew I had to be close, but didn't see any rec center sign, so I drove slowly to the north and past the left side of the UFO landing pad. As I followed the snow-plowed trail, a bright sign caught my eye, so I hopped out and into the deep snow again, and waited until the sign changed to "Support the 3 families affected by the Racette tragedy." My heart skipped a beat or 2, maybe even 3. Jumped back in the car, uploaded that photo, then back down 50th Avenue. Saw a gentleman sitting at a motel desk, pulled in and booked in for the night. Pleasant manners. Room 110. Perfect. Ground level. Fluffy quilt on the bed. So inviting. The room was cool, so I turned up the thermostat, left my socks, shirt jacket, and Santa toque on, and hopped into bed. It'll be warm in a bit, and then I can remove the extra nightwear. Wrong. Woke up at 5 a.m. Must be time for Mom to get up and make a fire in the tin can airtight wood heater. No, wait. I'm not 12 years old on the farm. I'm 66 and it's darn cold in here. No problem. I'm warm under the covers, so I'll just call the main desk and ask them to turn on the heat. It'll be warm in an hour or so. Wrong. I get a voice message. "Thank you for calling the Galaxy Motel. Please leave a message." Please leave a message? Okay, I can be cordial. So I left a message, hoping they would get the heat turned on so that my room would be warm by the time I have to get up to go meet my kissing cousin. Wrong again. 3 strikes and I'm out. Where's Mom when I need her? Actually, her spirit is probably hovering around the room, giggling, saying, "See, Johnny, that's what you get for not saying thanks to me for making all those fires when you were growing up." Oh well, no use to be worried, Mary. Cream check comes tomorrow. That's an expression one of our neighbors used whenever they were short of money or ran into a problem back 60 years ago. You see, everyone had a few milk cows, shipped cream to the local dairy, and a few days later a check would arrive in the mail. Everything would be good again. I called Helen Chapdelaine just after 8 a.m., wondering if we could meet for breakfast at McDonald's. Uh-oh, I know I shouldn't have called her when she asks, "What time is it?" I hope she forgives me. I head on to McDonald's and enjoy the warmth of the room, and decide to warm the atmosphere a bit more by handing out my pens and wishing the patrons a Merry Christmas. I'm wearing my Santa toque, so I can get away with this, and get some very grateful smiles. Now my heart is warming up as well as my body. One lady looks at her pen and says, "Knighton Junction? I stopped in your store a couple of years ago to look at your wood heaters when we were on our way to my niece's funeral in BC. Bam! Small world. Actually, I don't own the store. I just helped out a Todd Bowman when he needed a wood heater and chimney for his big shop, and he offered to display my heaters. Fair exchange. I head on down to the rec center and give Normand and his crew a hand, taking down the chairs and tables from the funeral, then resetting for the auction. Thankfully, a beautiful young lady comes to the door, waves and smiles big, and whisks me away from this job. I am so fortunate. I finally get to meet my kissing cousin. Helen and I share the same auntie, Auntie Vic Chapdelaine, thus the kissing cousins designation, which I happily share with Helen. We hop into her new SUV and take a tour of St. Paul. Helen fills me in on the fundraiser. She takes me by Reset School, and my heart aches as she describes the events of October 25th. Unbelievable. We then make an unexpected stop at the Myslicki home. Words are never enough. We all share hugs, take a few photos, then leave. My heart tells me this is not finished. Helen and I head to Tim's for coffee and more stories. I am made privy to a secret project which is in the works. That story will be revealed at a later date, at the discretion of the students involved. I consider the idea totally amazing. As our stories spill into each other's ears, we build a very strong bond, one that I feel will last for many years. We were meant to spend this time together. Unfortunately, there are many commitments which must be met by both of us, and sadly, we must go our separate ways. Don't worry, Ivan, I didn't try to steal a kiss from your beautiful bride. As we pull into the rec center, Helen says that there is one person I must meet, and there she is, Brandy Finlay Froen. What a wonderful bond we will build over the next couple of days. I also get to meet Normand Noel, with whom I have chatted on the phone and with private messages on Facebook. Norm is certainly one of the most congenial gentlemen around St. Paul. I go into the rec center briefly, and a lady about my age asks if I was the one who took part in the CFCW auction. Yes, I was that person, and she thanks me, but for some reason I don't get her name. She tells me that her daughter is the principal of Reset School and has many challenges dealing with the aftermath of the tragedy. Since I was a teacher for 30 years, I understand just how difficult her job must be, along with the challenges faced by the teachers and parents, as well as each student. I head for Bonnyville and a coffee meeting with a friend, Lori Coulter. Time passes quickly and I'm off to my sister Louise Sinclair's home, along with her hubby. Don and I used to be in the same class in grade 10. In fact, we acted in a play where he was the warden of a prison and I was the head guard. Memories. We enjoy a fantastic lunch of baked ham and casserole pierogi. Yummy! After an hour, it is clear that I need to sleep. My head is beginning to bob while I'm trying to stay with the conversation. They can clearly see that I am no longer with it. Down I go, out for the count, for 2 whole hours. I awaken to the sound of happy conversation as their neighbors drop in for a visit. That's what I call old-time neighborly visits. Don and Louise are already obligated to go to the company Christmas party. No problem, as I have things to do as well. Louise gets me started on her laptop so that I can check the happenings of my many friends. It takes almost an hour just to read the status updates. While doing that, I invite my Facebook friends to come out for our nightly walk for 8 p.m. It's getting a bit cool outside, so I plug in the car, get my good coveralls out of the trunk, and get ready for my walk. Another photo uploaded of the royal carriage in Louise's front yard, lit up for Christmas. As I head down the road, I contemplate what I will say next time I meet with Megan's family. I want to reassure them that her spirit is okay, and I ask her for a sign just to let me know. After a short prayer, I take one step forward, and a bright light shines through the trees directly into my eyes. There it is. I am convinced. Yes, I know it is from the radio station tower, but I had to be in the exact right spot at the exact right time to catch that brief beam of light coming through the poplar forest on my left. I will share this with Megan's family tomorrow, one way or another. I return from my walk and immediately start my bedtime story for my Facebook family. I'm not too familiar with Louise's laptop, but it's going fairly well. Then after about 40 minutes of writing, laptop locks up, and I lose my story. Crap. Don't panic, John. Still time to get the story finished by 10, when many of my Facebook family will be going to bed. Write from the beginning for another 45 minutes, and bam! Laptop locks up again, and my writing vanishes right in front of me. I apologize to my Facebook friends, and there will be no story. I decide I'll give it one more try, maybe just the highlights. If I hurry, maybe there's some kind of timer in the laptop. If I hurry, I'll beat it. So I get her done. I get a message from Megan's dad. Can we meet for breakfast at Smitty's? My heart leaps with excitement. You bet. Back to my highlights. Not a full story, but better than nothing. Dawn and Louise come home, and after visiting for an hour, it's time for a midnight snack. Baked ham, fresh bread, fruit tray, baked goodies. Then off to bed. A warm bed in a warm house. Yes, Mom, I do appreciate all the times you were first up every morning to make sure we had a warm spot to get dressed. A spot away from the quilt, which is frozen to the wall, and also away from the water pail, which has a half-inch layer of ice along the top. Louise is first up, and I'm feeling tired, but drag my sorry butt out of bed. Look at the thermometer, and it's minus 32. Welcome back to Ardmore, Johnny. We hustle and head out the door to the Ardmore Senior Citizen Center for a free breakfast. I do create a bit of a stir as I walk in the door. Not sure if it's because I'm wearing my Santa hat and beard brushed out so that it's full, or if somebody actually recognizes me. Yep, some of them recognize me from our Ardmore school reunion a few years back. Not much time for a visit, as I promised Thomas Myslicki that I would be in St. Paul early enough for us to visit before the fundraiser. I make my way around, handing out my pens, wishing familiar and not so familiar faces a Merry Christmas. Sorry I can't stay longer, but this weekend is all about families who need my support, so I jump into the car and head southwest to St. Paul. I phone Thomas to let him know that I'm on the way. Good. Then he phones back and asks if I could come to the house. Perfect. While driving down, I try to prepare what I want to say, what I had no time for yesterday. Christmas songs are playing on CFCW, and I hear the song The Meaning of Christmas. You know the one. C is for the Christ child born upon this day. H is for herald angels in the night. Bam! I know what I will say. I have to share with them my understanding of the spirits which occupy our earthly bodies. I arrive at the Myslicki home and am greeted with warm hugs from Sherry, Thomas, and Kaylee. I am feeling so much better about this visit, and we sit down to coffee and cinnamon buns. Yummy! We share stories, and when the time is right, I ask, "Do you know the story of how spirits pick their earthly bodies?" Thomas and Sherry indicate that they do not know, so I try my best to explain my understanding of heavenly spirits picking earthly bodies. As I understand it, each spirit needs to improve some aspect of their character, and so they pick an earthly body which will provide the best opportunity to develop those characters. I believe that Megan's spirit picked the Myslicki family because this family would provide her with the greatest opportunity to develop the loving and caring characteristics she needed to develop. I also understand that the heavenly spirit is given 3 exit opportunities to leave the earthly body behind, but only after it has had time to develop those characteristics it wanted to develop here on earth. Once the heavenly spirit is satisfied that the goals have been accomplished, then it begins to show signs in the earthly body that it will be taking the next closest exit point to return to the Heavenly Father. As hard as it is for all of Megan's relatives to understand, her heavenly spirit had already accomplished the goals which had been set out for her, through the love and caring which everyone, family, relatives, and friends, had provided her over the past 11 years, and it was now time for her spirit to return. I saw clear evidence that Megan's spirit knew that it was time to return in some of the activities that she did over the past few months. So the circumstances were tragic, and we mortals do not understand why. But for everything, there is a reason and a purpose served. Perhaps this tragedy was needed to show the rest of us that we need to cherish what we have in our lives. Perhaps to show us the goals that can be achieved when we pull together during and after a tragedy. Perhaps the importance of our roots, what our grandparents had to endure so that we could enjoy the easy life. Perhaps. And I'm sure you can come up with many good things which have come out of this tragedy. Community spirit. Back to the basics of looking out for each other, what really matters, rather than just, I want or I need. I took more time to develop Megan's spiritual journey in her earthly body during this writing, so that all of her family, relatives, and friends can reflect on the events leading up to October 25th, and all of those which have developed as a result. We shared many more stories, but I have to say that I am so grateful for the time we had to share together. I now know why Megan's spirit picked this family for her earthly journey. The love and caring I felt in a little over an hour must have been multiplied 1,000 times, perhaps even 1,000,000 times, during all the activities that Megan got to enjoy while being cared for by everyone around this wonderful family. Praise the Lord that Megan was able to accomplish her goals in such a short period of time. Time now for a few photos with the Wilitzkis, and on to the auction. To be continued.